For the last probably 3 or 4 months, I've had blood.
Oof.
Every single time.
Oof.
That's
Hold on, let's save it. Let's save the talk.
That's
We gotta
not
save it.
good.
This is good talk. This is good combo.
Okay.
I don't really know if I want to take part in that.
There's a lot of
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Brood and the Fruit. Got a lot of great topics for you today. We're going to talk about Bob Dylan, the Taliban.
Sorry.
Oh,
It's just the topic of Bob Dylan raping a 12-year-old, and it's just Joe Biden's face on this.
The kids touch my leg hair.
You know, these kids love sitting on my lap. I learned a lot about cockroaches when the kids sat on my lap. And
welcome to an all-new episode of The Brood and the Fruit. Brood and the Fruit. The Brood and the Fruit. The Brood and the Fruit. The Brood
and the Fruit.
I can't believe I'm actually talking to you right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask, there's a lot of tension in the air today, guys. I don't know how we're going to get this episode running if you guys don't start to...
I had to drink to even
I don't
be
understand.
here. I can't believe it.
From.
I mean, look at this guy from across the room. I've been used to looking at him from across the court. And it was just extremely uncomfortable.
You guys are playing racquetball, tennis, basketball.
Yeah, which court?
The courtroom. Don't play dumb, okay?
Yeah, what's going on, Burger?
Nothing. I was subpoenaed for a court date for...
Really?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Well, I don't choose to be subpoenaed.
You don't have to, you can just say, oh, I'm busy or something.
It wasn't court duty or jury duty. It was a subpoena. He had to go.
What's the difference? It's court.
Jury duty is totally unrelated to you. So a subpoena
I thought you were
related to...
You're being called by the state. It's like jury or whatever.
Yeah, it's a subpoena.
Well, I didn't get one of those. What I got was a note from my lawyer.
You got a notice to appear in court.
My lawyer is telling me, hey, you got to show up, and there the fuck you are. And we're on opposite sides. I don't get it.
I was called as a key witness.
What did you witness? I don't understand. My late wife, basically wife, Helen.
The dearly departed Helen.
God rest her soul.
Good woman.
Well, thank you for your respects.
You're welcome.
I mean, it's devastation that happened. Devastating to my life, and I've had to move on. And yes, it has netted me some benefits, but it's through sadness. I mean, it doesn't make sense that I would be in trouble for it.
Yeah, but I'm lost here, Burger. Why are you testifying against him about Helen?
Well, I thought it was pertaining to the amount of money that was owed due
what
to...
What is the amount of money? What are you talking about? I mean, it was basically just physical assets. It's just something you have to do as a married person or soon-to-be married person. You have to take care of the assets.
I thought this was pertaining to the amount of money that was sent... The invoice that was sent to you about the damage that I caused about the Pray Away camp that you sent me to.
Pray Away?
Yeah. You sent me to the camp where I met the Slapjacks. We talked about the Slapjacks.
What are you, an idiot? How does that have anything to do with this?
Well, remember we got the email from the company that said that you owed a certain amount of money?
Tim, are you in multiple litigations right now?
You know, when I talk to Barry, I don't really necessarily understand.
Who?
His lawyer, Barry. If I remember correctly, hold on. Barry Epstein?
Epstein, yeah.
You have a lawyer named Epstein on retainer.
Epstein?
Barry.
Okay. So are you sure it's not Barry Epstein?
It's Barry E. It's Barry E. I'll just say that.
Epstein. I remember it was something real rapey. Epstein.
Yeah. It was Epstein, Maxwell, and Epstein was the firm that you were associating yourself with.
Well, that was...
anyway, okay. Barry has been telling me about my case. I didn't realize it was cases. I thought you were telling people about my fiance and that bitch Sharon.
Was she a bitch? Who's Sharon?
Well, anyway, yeah, those guys.
So, hold on. There's so many questions. I'm so confused. I'm more fascinated here.
I gave them all the advertising they needed. They were mentioned in an episode. With the amount of viewers we get every episode, it's really worth it's worth more than what they've given us. So for a fake service.
So Burger, you were called to be a key witness. I remember the email.
I mean, you're still gay.
Yes, it didn't work.
So what are they demanding? What did they furnish me in terms of service? Nothing.
So now, if I correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. I'm still trying to keep up, and this is for our listeners and viewers or whatever you got. This was the camp that you went to, Burger.
Mm-hmm.
We had an email from them. I'd have to find that somewhere. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was over on the peninsula.
The peninsula, and it was like a pray the gay away camp.
Essentially.
And there was a kerfluffle.
It was a resort.
There was a kerfluffle about a sponsorship, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. It was you promised them like something like 6 months or a year of
in return for their services, which were not rendered. But the services were not rendered.
But it's also, I think there's some sort of monetary, right? I mean.
I'm gonna have to have Barry look into this. I mean, I really shouldn't be speaking on it, really.
So, Burger, you were there though. So, what can you say? Yeah. What were they? Were they just probably? I'm guessing they were just asking you simple. When did you arrive? Is it true that you were sent there by Mr. Wilson and yada yada yada?
Yeah, basically that was the case.
So he didn't do. He wasn't doing you any. I think as long as Burger tells the truth. I think you're in
like I said, I just have a civic duty to the truth.
I'm not even worried about that one. I was thinking you're in that one with that bitch Sharon. She's just fucking riding my ass and makes no sense at all.
Now Sharon is that was Helen's one of her children, I believe, right?
Yeah, her bastard child.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Really the black sheep of the family. I mean, I don't know why she even bothers, because no one respects her. But Jesus. Anyway, she decided that I did not deserve what I got from Helen, being Helen's fiance, left in her will. And, it was all fair in the law and the eyes of the Lord.
It was notarized, I'm sure.
Notarized. Yep.
And put your hand on the Holy Bible.
Of course.
Well, so Helen, before Helen passed, you guys, she suddenly passed. But obviously you guys were about to get married. It's going to be a very lovely ceremony in New Mexico.
Correct.
And I'm guessing you guys probably had already started moving forward in the paperwork process. Like your assets were hers, and hers are yours, vice versa. And that's what this litigation is about with Sharon.
Yes, Judge.
So
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm in court again because it was just so straightforward.
Yeah.
Exactly what's going on. I'm being extorted by someone who is unhappy with their position in the world. And it has nothing to do with me. And the way you put it was just...
Now, did you have... You told us about a trip you were taking. I thought maybe, we've kind of shared this whole chapter of your life with our listeners. I feel like we might as well let them, if you're willing to, let them in on the real beautiful gesture you made towards Helen and her remains per her request,
right,
to you.
The spreading of the ashes.
Yeah, and I know that some people that's private, and some people necessarily want to talk about it a lot. But I know you had mentioned what your plan was, and during our big hiatus, our summer break that we told you guys we were going to be going on, and we went on. I believe that's part of the time when you went to go do that. And if you don't mind, I'd love for you to,
Yeah. So she mentioned
tell us about your trip.
Yeah, she mentioned on a beautiful sunny day. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were sitting there. We'd been watching. What's the show where they have the letters and you guess?
Wheel of Fortune.
Beautiful show.
Yeah.
And we loved watching that show together. And after that, we were sitting on the porch and feeding the birds. And it was a beautiful day, as we often had together. And she mentioned, one day I might want to visit the Midwest and see like the Great Lakes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Because you'd never seen the Great Lakes before. And I took that to heart because she said it to me.
That's really sweet.
And so I figured, what could better befit her life than a trip to the Great Lakes?
Mm-hmm.
And I rented a float plane.
Which lake?
I paid Union, and I had them.
No, that's in Washington. Like
oh, my bad. I visited there recently on my hog on a great trip.
Let me get
Superior.
Superior, okay.
Okay.
It's because this is a Superior Union. I couldn't really. I mean, they just fit together. But anyway, had a float plane come, and Helen loved fireworks. And what could be more similar to a firework than a cannon?
Nothing.
And you know what's easy to pack into a cannon?
Ashes?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we got this float
Projectiles.
plane. She wanted to see the lake. What better way to see the lake than by plane? And we were going to have a cannon on the plane, which we got special permission from the state.
Of course.
And then one person she really liked that a lot of people don't know about, including her terrible daughter who didn't care about her at all, was old Green Eyes? Blue Eyes?
Frank Sinatra?
Frank Sinatra. She loved Frank Sinatra, so I was going to pay to have she loved line dancing.
Like country shit?
No, wait. What's the
Square
Irish
dancing?
No, what's the river stomping?
River dancing?
Yeah, so I was gonna have those things that are full bagpipes.
Yeah.
I was gonna have a bagpipe version. Don't laugh. I was gonna have a bagpipe version of a Frank Sinatra song played on a barge while we had a float plane fly over and shoot her ashes out of the cannon. Because I couldn't think of anything that she would love more.
So you were gonna use your dead wife's ashes as a firework?
I don't know why you have to say it that way. No, it's about dispersing the ashes. That's what people do. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of sprinkling done.
True.
Well, that's what we're doing.
So now, did you have...
It's like an expansion of the soul.
Yeah. It's to become one with everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
Stardust.
becoming one with the whole...
We are stardust.
Yeah,
you can be more
Did you save any bit of her ashes at all?
Yeah, I had some of it made into a small gem that's pierced into this ring.
Oh. That's very lovely.
You see that?
Yeah, did you didn't have any save for her? Maybe you think that might be the reason why her daughter's upset?
No, it's just about money. I don't really know what she's...
Does her daughter have...
So Helen left you money?
No, well, she left me junk that I disposed of for her. I mean, no offense, but there were just some storage rooms. Like I was saying, I was getting into the storage war business for a while there. And I had to dispose of some things.
Like someone's ashes?
No, that was... Okay, can we take a little pause?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring some pizza when you get back.
Man. Bizarre. I didn't know you went to I didn't know you were going to court.
Yeah, I thought it was defending my actions there at the
Oh, that's why
the gay awakening. Yeah.
You thought you were good.
Yeah, because they sent that bill. I was afraid it was going to be turned into a lawsuit if Tim wasn't going to pay the damages that I had caused at the event.
No, I think the whole invoice was for advertisement that he put out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were supposed to be advertising them.
It was really unclear.
Oh God!
But I wanted to make sure I kept my name clear.
He's in multiple.
He's always involved. He's always involved in. Yeah. He's always being sued. He's like a woman on his period. He's either about to be sued, he's being sued, or he just got sued.
Oh, too funny.
Oh, he's coming back here. I can hear his footsteps.
Too funny.
Hey, you're back.
Hey, sorry.
No worries.
Good pissins.
Just a quick call to take.
Good pissins there, bud.
Yeah.
Nice little phone call.
Jolly pissins.
Well, at least he's
Jolly Pissins sounds like a great Christmas
character
name.
Like Jiminy Cricket. Jolly Pistons. Well, he could have been like the employee for Scrooge.
Right. Pistons, get in here!
Yes, sir.
Pissins.
Anyway.
Pissins!
Pistons.
Pissins! Yeah,
So,
boss.
So Hollywood over here with the phone call, was that Mr. Epstein trying to set up some kind of weird date to his
you're
island?
talking about Barry. No, this is another important person in my life that's just, I have adult responsibilities unlike some people, and you got to take care of them.
Okay. All right. That seems cryptic.
It's my kids. You gotta pick them up. You gotta drop them off when you're a separated adult. It's the kind of thing that goes on.
A separated adult?
In a way, yeah.
Oh, you mean your ex?
Julia.
Right.
Gosh.
How's she?
She's good.
You've been talking to her?
I mean, yeah. I've got to talk to her with regards to children.
Dude,
we're still raising children together.
Look at this.
Dude.
You have to raise children together. You can't as parents.
So you're old. I highly doubt you're only talking to her as parents.
We have kids together. We raise them half and half.
Sure, I'm sure she wasn't. I'm sure she wasn't too upset about Helen's passing.
Mm-hmm. Well, at first, she's very concerned with my mental well-being. So
reconvene with the D. Reconvene with the D.
I don't know what you're referring, but she was very supportive. And
yeah.
Have you guys smashed since Helen's passing?
Oh my gosh! Why would you even?
Burger, a little bit of class. But
have you guys made love since Helen's passing?
No.
Okay.
Is she still with?
No.
Is she with any of those guys from the old?
She's with. She's not.
Not with any of them. Either of the three
Nope.
that she was with that one night.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about that too much. She's let's just say well, the kids are Julie and I are back together.
Oh my God.
It's wonderful.
Blah, blah.
I don't know why you're being so rude. You're really being rude.
Dude.
This is the mother of my children.
Oh my God. I can't believe this.
I gotta be honest with you.
Sucker born every day.
I gotta be honest with you. The nuclear family is what keeps this country together.
Thank you.
I approve of you getting back with Julia.
Thank you.
Or Julia, or whatever the fuck her name is.
Dude, I just want to go on the record and say it's a bad idea. Very bad idea.
What, you don't have kids. What do you know?
Raising a family, raising kids.
What do you know about raising children with your wife?
I thought that you had all that. I remember the guy who came in and was devastated about finding his wife being basted at a party, and now apparently that never happened or whatever, and now everything's
things happen. People grow. People grow as people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. People change. You want to tell me what I'm doing is wrong? Look at yourself in the mirror.
Hey,
yeah. I mean, how many times is OJ killed?
Couple.
But after that, though.
Well, and then how many times is Bob Dylan raped after this new?
Well, we don't know.
1965, 12-year-old.
That doesn't even count.
Brought to you by Kirkland Brand.
Ultra strength, anti-acid, calcium carbonate beneath my skin. Ultra strength, anti-acid, calcium carbonate underneath my skin.
Calcium carbonate
in between my skin. Immediate relief in between my skin. Immediate relief underneath my skin.
and it's chewable. And it comes in multiple berry flavors.
In between my skin.
But that was the only time.
That's just coming out now.
Yeah, imagine that. Was that the only time?
A statute of limitations.
But is that the only? If that's the only time?
There are weird statute of limitations laws.
Yeah,
which I found out recently about that the one.
How old was Bob Dylan in 1965? Maybe 40? 50? He was a kid.
How old was he? Oh, I gotta look it up now.
Let's just say he's 80 now, which he's not quite 80. Minus 56 is
20.
He's got to be 80 years old.
Is he 80 years old? He looks like he's older than Lucifer.
Maybe he is Lucifer. He's raping people.
Born in 41.
He looks like the grandma from
he's
Coco.
81.
Born in 41, he'd be 80. Or maybe
80.
81.
He's 80.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
born 41, he's 80.
Yeah, 80.
And so, yeah, he's 80. And so in 65, he would have been 24. Which is not an appropriate age to have sex with a 12-year-old.
No.
Or there's no appropriate age for that.
But also, this is a very late lawsuit. I haven't read the story, but it seems like if it would have come out in like 1975, and it'd be like, oh fuck, what happened?
Yeah.
Should I read the story?
No, I want to know.
I don't know.
This is Dylan, who is now 80. In this article.
Okay,
he's still 80.
All right, so here. Bob Dylan has been accused of drugging and sexually assaulting a 12-year-old in 1965 when he was in his mid-20s, according to a lawsuit filed last week in Newark. Just like to remind you all that there's no such thing as statute of limitations anymore. You can't. It's like, hey.
So what I heard was
this happened 108 years ago.
Well, just to bring this up, there was a guy that was high up in the Catholic religion. I forget what position it was, but he was one of the largest.
It's called Pope.
Largest in the country, the U.S. And
Monsieur.
He moved out of Massachusetts, and then he moved back, and it was like 20 or 30 years later. But in the state of Massachusetts, time only passes while you live there.
Shit.
Really?
So So it was only like 3 years into his statute of limitations, and he got charged with it like this year.
All right. According to the suit, which was filed in state Supreme Court on Friday, Dylan befriended the girl, identified only as JC, May 1965. Dylan, now 80, is alleged to have, quote, established an emotional connection, unquote, with JC to, quote, lower her inhibitions with the object of sexually abusing her, which he did, unquote, the suit says. The suit alleges that Dylan used drugs, alcohol, and threats of physical violence.
Oh, shit.
Quote, leaving her emotionally scarred and psychologically damaged to this day, unquote.
How does it feel?
Bad!
I said, how does it feel?
That was a rhetorical question.
I'm not really a fan of him.
I'm not either.
I don't really understand what is appealing.
I hope this isn't true, but if it is true, I take pride in saying I never liked him.
This is like
I'm not, it's not. It doesn't affect me, honestly, if he did it or not. But just what's more important to me is that I don't like his music. Honestly.
Daniel Isaacs, one of the attorneys representing JC, responded to a request. Hold on.
Jesus Christ? JC?
Hold on. This is previous. In a statement to NBC News, a spokesman, for Dylan said the 56-year-old claim is untrue and will be vigorously defended.
Vigorously.
Yeah, there's really no ground for this.
No.
I mean, what's going to happen?
How could you?
They're trying to Cosby Dylan. Daniel Isaacs, one of the attorneys representing JC, responds to a request for comment by saying, quote, nothing other than the complaint speaks for itself, and we shall prove our allegations in a court of law.
The complaint speaks for itself?
Nothing other than the complaint speaks for itself, and we shall prove our allegations in a court of law. All right, let's see the semen sample.
How are you saying the complaint?
This is just words. Itself? This is not reality.
That was her.
This is the simulation running out. They have no other victim.
Okay, don't bring up the simulation thing. That's not.
They have no other defendants. They're just like, let's pick somebody we haven't used yet. Bob Dylan.
Well,
could you not have chosen Keith Richards?
Who made that last statement? Was it Dylan's?
It would be the lawyer of the Jesus Christ.
Yeah. The lawyer of Christ said, nothing other than the complaint speaks for itself, and we shall prove our allegations in a court of law. The suit doesn't mention...
The complaint just says he did it.
Well, that proves itself.
Okay.
You look at the sky, it's blue.
It speaks for itself.
It's self-evident.
Why is the sky blue? Because it's blue, dummy.
The suit doesn't mention potentially corroborating evidence, but claims the girl had just turned 12. How long have
you and Julie been back together?
A little bit.
How long after Helen?
I mean, I felt like an eternity. So, I mean, to be alone. Who could wish it on anyone?
We went on your trip.
What trip?
The trip you were just telling us about. The beautiful trip. You go by
Canyon?
yourself?
I don't travel alone, so.
Continue the story, Burger.
The suit alleges that multiple episodes of abuse, Tim, occurred at Dylan's apartment at the famed Manhattan landmark, Hotel Chelsea, in April and May 1965. JC suffered depression, anxiety, disassociation... Tell me about it.
Maybe she was a really big fan of his, and he was very bad in bed, and so afterwards she was just traumatized by it.
Or maybe so much time has gone by.
She decided she was younger.
It's just, I know. And then as time's gone on, she's just morphed it into rape because it was so bad. She didn't enjoy it, so she's just like.
Well, this is a woman who's 68 right now.
Yeah.
So imagine
my grandma Judy.
Imagine, yeah, she thinks it's true.
My grandma Judy started telling my mom that my mom's dad was getting sucked off by some. Those are the exact words.
Sucked off by some. I would hate to hear my grandmother use the phrase "sucked off."
My grandma's dad.
My grandma's has been telling my mother, her dad, my mom's dad, was cheating on my grandma and getting sucked off by this old lady named Berta that lives in my grandma's.
Oh, this is real.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. No, and like all this shit, and my mom will start to like share this, and I'll be like, Mom, please stop saying sucked off. Or like,
is that the word your insane grandma's using?
Yes.
I just imagine your.
Wait, is her husband alive?
No.
But she thinks he is?
No, she's saying that before he died.
Before he died.
That she was cheating on him and getting sucked off by Berta and blah, blah, blah. All this other horrible shit.
He was being sucked off by Berta as he took his final breath.
Are these people in a fucking, like, home? Like...
My grandma?
Yeah, they live in a home.
Her husband, when he was getting sucked off. Was that a home?
No. He died when he was really young.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, really young considering, like, they were like 50.
It was more fun to think that he was getting sucked off
as an old man, yeah.
When he was, like, in a wheelchair.
He was Rob Lowe's age.
Right, yeah, that's...
Your grandpa was Rob Lowe's age when he died.
That's insane, because he was so much older than that.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it the same world? Cow. Can you imagine?
It's such a weird world. It's not my... So, because what's crazy... See, what my mom, what's crazy with her is that she's telling my grandma, like, hey, you're thinking of my biological dad, because my mom's biological dad cheated on my grandma. My mom's, who became her dad, who, like, raised her, he, my mom, he would never have done that, But so my mom's like, you're getting them mixed up. And she's like, no, I'm not. Jim would blah, blah, blah. Like, my mom's just like, so my grandma's gotten to a point where she's making up these, like, outlandishly crazy stories, like, explicit stories that never happened.
But does she have coronavirus?
That's what makes it great, is that they're explicit.
Right. So now you have this person who 50, however
not
many years
only
later,
was my husband cheating on me,
was getting
even
sucked
though he wasn't, it was a suck off, and I know who did it, and I know what seat he was sitting in,
and I'm just saying, like,
what does she say when her daughter comes over? She's just like, "All right, Mama, did you take your medicine?" "Yeah, I did. By the way, your daddy was getting sucked off by Berta."
No,
oh
it's my grandma Judy has become a very nasty old lady because she doesn't listen to this podcast, does she? No, I don't even think you could explain her what a podcast is.
Trent, you're on the radio.
I know. So I talked to my friend's dad. I saw him for the first time in a long time, and he goes, "So I hear you're on the radio now."
No, he's like, "What station?" No. Like, what time do I tune in?
Yeah.
You know how any asshole can get himself on the internet? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So you went to school for that.
So you got broadcast though. You were broadcast all around the world. I mean, essentially, I guess anybody around the world.
Yeah, technically, but I mean, they're not being broadcast.
It's not cool anymore, Grandpa. Everyone does it.
Sorry.
Yeah, but anyways, my point being that you have this 56-year claim, and she's saying that she was traumatized from it. Maybe it's just morphed in her head into something because her brain's turning into mashed potatoes, like my grandma,
like Joe Biden.
She could have Alzheimer's. Or even early onset at 68. That's pretty much an average age for onset.
And so she's just remembering a bad sex, I can imagine sex with Bob Dylan being very like awkward and
might have been
like,
okay.
no rhythm.
Sit on my face.
100 years ago.
Anyways, go on, Burger. Read this story.
That was pretty much the end of the story. I just scrolled down to the comments.
Okay, give us a couple comments and then we're gonna get out of here.
Okay. Jim says she is looking to boost her Social Security check. There should be some kind of time limit on these cases, like statute of limitations, maybe. Who can remember everything from that far back or prove anything from that far back? Okay, well, I mean, if she was raped, she could probably remember.
Sorry, Alzheimer's is considered early onset before the age of 65, so she's in the range for regular.
So then Helion responded to Mr. Jim, there is a time limit, and she filed her suit the day before it expired. I would like to believe victims when they speak out, but this seems a bit too inconvenient. The day before it expired? Really? I mean, it's every 56 years? Okay. Laura Stifler says, Well, I want to believe all people who say they were abused. This is a little hard to buy. 56 years later, and she's now making a claim. Sounds like she's looking for a payday. Who wants to make that much money in this time of their life?
I'm surprised you would say that publicly. And, I mean, other than a loser like us. But maybe that is just a random person. But
this guy sounds like a victim blamer. This guy's name is Good to Go. This is AOL.com, by the way.
Oh, God. Who's
what
still
the,
using
what
AOL.com? Why are we using
It's still here.
This is like a fever
the top
dream.
story. This is the first one that appeared in my feed. Good to Go.
What's your feed? AOL.net?
This is one of the first people who's ever created an alternative name online.
Good to Go. I've had this username
with
since
the number 2.
1993.
This is no defense of Dylan if the charges are true. ... But how do you groom a 12-year-old girl without the parents knowing anything about their 12-year-old's daughter's situation?
Oh, so blame the parents.
and then somebody named somebody named Real Heroes response.
Oh, God.
That was my question. Where was the mother at this time? I'm 62, but even back then, my mother knew better than to let me be alone with a grown man.
What kind of nonsense arguments? It's just like, as soon as you put some on the internet, it's like all you get is just ridiculous shit.
Here's somebody named #this. Or pound this, I guess is more like it.
Pound this, I was going to say. Pound
1965, exclamation. Not guilty. This is all in caps. Not guilty. Whatever and whoever they bring out of the woodwork, comma. And please, Bob, don't throw money at her just to avoid the hassle. Not guilty or not, it will just help perpetuate this ongoing fleecing of men by women, and that's exactly what it is. They had a legit case with Cuomo, or at least seemed to me, because they didn't want to wait for 50 years. These things do happen, but I hope Dylan says to this woman, it ain't me, babe, so get your mess of a self out of here. Don't think twice. It's all right. That last line was quote unquote. So I think these are Bob Dylan songs.
Yeah. Thank you, Pound This. For your insight.
Thank you, Pound This for your...
Come on, like, all the first 3 people posting are basically insane people. And the first 2 guys who were talking about the children, the parents being the issue, it's like, how is that the first thing? How is that the first thing you say about this? It's been 56 years. It's a famous guy, Bob Dylan, and your first post is, well, the parents should have been paying attention. Like, what?
I know, it's funny when you get people that are like really, like, I remember do you remember that 12-year-old Mexican kid that got killed in Chicago or whatever it was? He was like, he was a child. He was like 12 or 13 or whatever he was, and they were calling him Little Diablo or whatever.
Right, I remember that.
And then somebody on my Facebook made a post that was, well, if you're letting your 12-year-old go out in the middle of the night, then there's something wrong with your parenting. It's like, what about the guy that fucking gunned him down?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people, the first comments you see are often hilarious because it's people who've like thought, probably, hopefully, had a bunch of ideas about something, and then they finally get stuck on one, and it's just insane. And it just shows how much of their brain is mush. They're like, this is what people want to hear.
Here's something, guys, that just popped up. It's a funny talking point, I feel like. Twitter says the Taliban can stay on platform if they obey the rules. No beheadings, you guys, but you can spread your rhetoric on here.
That's Twitter?
This is from the New York Post.
Okay.
Twitter says Taliban can stay on platform if they obey rules.
Okay. These are the people that kicked the president of the United States off of Twitter.
Did he break their rules?
It depends. The rules are fluid.
Yeah. I mean, I would have thought. I thought it was like because of.
Here we go. Here's here. I'll just read it. Unlike former President Donald Trump, the faces and voices of the reconstituted Taliban regime in Afghanistan can apparently tweet their hearts out or to their heart's content. I think the New York Post is a right-leaning website.
Well, it's not left-leaning, which means it's far right.
There you go.
It's right of Mao. Which
Twitter, okay, so apparently Twitter ducked the question of whether it would bar representatives of the Islamic fundamentalist government from getting their message out, saying that it would continue to proactively enforce its rules outlawing the glorification of violence, platform manipulation, and spam. Twitter's top priority, so the quote, is keeping people safe and we remain vigilant.
Keeping so they're nurses
safe.
And police at the same time. That's a dangerous position to put yourself in.
Both official Taliban spokesmen.
We're keeping people safe, so we're going to allow the Taliban to talk to everyone.
Well, they dodged the question. So this was, I think, from like, they dodged the question, but by dodging it, they answered it. They said that they're going to keep enforcing their rules. So as long as Taliban follows the rules of Twitter, they can use it. Both official Taliban spokesmen have unverified accounts on Twitter. One has more than 310,000 followers. His most recent tweet as of Tuesday afternoon promoted a press conference by Taliban leaders and drew hundreds of responses, many of them from well-wishers. Dear Mr.
sure will.
Yeah, dear Mr. Zabiullah Mahajad Saib, first of all, I welcome you.
We will be victorious.
And then congratulate you on complete liberation of Afghanistan. Read a typical message. The other spokesman has 63,000 followers and gained notoriety during the recent fighting for tweeting reports about capture of various cities as the Taliban swept through the Afghan countryside. Big tech critics have expressed outrage over Twitter's tolerance towards the Taliban after it banned Trump in the aftermath of the deadly January 6th riot in the U.S. Capitol.
So they keep conflating the two, even though they're not related.
The company has recently suspended Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene after she questioned the efficiency of the COVID-19 vaccines, but has permitted accounts affiliated with representative governments like China and Iran to spread anti-American and anti-Israel propaganda. And then it just keeps going on. Now we're getting into the partisan side of things.
Yeah, because those other things are pretty unpartisan.
Bacon, sausage, roll-ups, and chicken cordon bleu bites, and Cheetos, blues, and propane every day. Oh, won't you come to Leon's today?
What I was going to say was, I got this Halle Berry movie.
Yeah?
She's not the star.
And you can see her snatch.
I haven't. But
What's it called?
Barwick?
Borat?
No. It's like a 90s political commentary comedy.
Oh, Bulworth.
Yeah.
Bulworth, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the soundtrack had, that "Get a superstar, that is what you are" as the main song.
See, I've never seen that. Never seen it, but I have it on DVD.
Me neither.
Now.
I have no clue what it is.
But I've also never seen. My friends were talking about how much they liked. What's the guy? He reminds me of Jack White for some reason. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
He reminds me of Jack White because he's a fucking Tim Burton cartoon character.
Right. But I haven't seen, like, I saw his 2000 stuff as a child, but I didn't really see any of his 90s movies. And they're bringing up all these movies. They said
Crybaby.
are really good. Never
Benny
seen
and
it.
June.
Never seen it.
Gilbert Grape.
There you
Never
go.
seen it.
Oh.
I haven't seen any of his great movies.
He was
Ed Wood.
He
Never
was
seen
good.
it.
Ed Wood is his best
He was
movie.
good before Pirates.
Ed Wood.
It was after Pirates?
No. I'm saying Ed Wood.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
that
Ed Wood.
right there.
Yeah.
Ed Wood is a great movie.
Pirates of the Caribbean turned Johnny Depp into...
Cartoon
Turn him into the
character.
Jeff Bezos.
They turned
of
him into
cartoon-
Robert Downey Jr. Or Robert Downey Jr. turned himself into, like, did a Johnny Depp job. But, like,
Right, but
Johnny Depp was one of the first, the OGs to jump onto a fucking franchise, I guess. Modern franchise, and just ride it out.
I think 90s movies were the height of America's contribution to media.
well,
I think the 90s really were. I think the 2000s was the decline, and now we're in the major decline. But I think the upcoming countries, as far as pretty much everything, Asian. And when I think about this country and why I like it a lot, freedom, in quotes, because that's slowly being taken away.
And it's the only one you've ever been in.
The only one I've ever been in. All the great food I've eaten has been here. I mean, I've been to Canada. But there's it's really the media. That's the only thing that I can say is definitely better than anywhere else. I don't want to watch French films. I don't want to I don't want to listen to music from fucking even Japan. It's just we had really great shit here, and now when I think about all of our modern stuff, it's just terrible.
I didn't realize what a patriot you were. I think you kind of nailed it on the head.
I don't know. I feel like there could be.
You want to listen to mariachi?
I'm not saying I disagree with Tim about what he said about the 90s, but I feel like you could definitely have people make an argument that it was before that.
You could definitely do
but I mean, I know what you're saying, because I do agree I love a lot of stuff from the 90s.
Like, if I was going to relate it to Pink Floyd, the 90s was The Wall. It was like the last of the good stuff.
Yeah.
And really, you could say it wasn't that good, but after that, it was definitely not good.
But there's definitely a lot of good stuff in the 90s, like film-wise, music-wise.
Right.
But The Wall was great.
Yeah, the 90s were great.
Yeah.
The 2000s were...
But that's
definitely
the thing.
a decline.
Were the final cut.
There's the final. You don't forget. There's the final cut. Then there's momentary lapse of reason, and there's the vision bell.
He's talking about.
But you can't. I'm sorry. I know. I mean, when you talk about Pink Floyd, you have to include that because that was big.
But I'm a Roger Waters mark.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying that was big. Like those tours that they did for a momentary lapse and division bell were enormous. Like enormous money. Like. Big time, like,
and we still had big stuff in the 2000s and the 2010s,
right? And but it's
as a country,
scarce. But it's scarce. It's not as. It's like there's no. It's
like one per decade instead of.
Or you
nine
have,
in the
or
decade,
you have such a separation from like a disparity in levels. So. Instead, like it kind of how they've eliminated the middle class. So now it's like I said, you're gonna have fucking stadium tour level bands, and then you're just gonna have a bunch of like fucking club bands. And there is no like.
It's like we had 20 years of wage stagnation, and then inflation just hit the roof.
Yeah, and
we're like, oh yeah, this place is kind of suck.
Well, and then also I feel with the internet. I feel like the internet, like, exploding in the 2000s, allowed music to lose its mystique.
Mm-hmm. The internet really destroyed most of this.
Nice word to use. Nice word, mystique.
Music losses its mystique, and while now we have access to anything we want at our fingertips, which is awesome, there's a whole portion of the music industry that is completely destroyed. So now instead, like, you know, in the 90s, when you had MTV and stuff, you'd have like the Butthole Surfers get a music video, right? And so then all of a sudden, more people would know about the Butthole Surfers than really should.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Like, I think they're pretty good.
No, I don't mean it like that. I just mean because of what they're the Butthole Surfers. Like, I just mean like
it's not like the Butthole.
Yeah,
Surfers.
like, I mean, more people are going to catch the music video and be like, "Oh man, that's tight," and buy the album. As where now you have to discover it. So if you discover it, you say, "Oh shit, cool!" You add it all to your.
Plus, it was more local because to know about it,
yeah,
you have to be seeing them at shows, or you'd have to be hearing about them from other people around.
And shows were something to go do because you didn't have the internet to just get lost on and do everything in the world on.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get lucky where there's like a mainstream company or some kind of mainstream unit that pushes some kind of indie bullshit that would never get kind of attention nowadays, where you got lucky back then. All of a sudden your music your song gets played on MTV and you're a nobody.
But if you wanted to get cynical, then you could say, well, MTV was that kind of system, and there were a lot of bands that weren't played on MTV that should have been played on MTV. Sure. But the idea of being a touring musician and like being able to make a living off of it completely got destroyed with the internet because, like I said, I feel like the more
to be fair, didn't exactly get destroyed with the internet, because when the internet began, and for a lot of its life so far, it was kind of not what it was today. I mean, today with social media and internet that's good enough, internet connections that are good enough for live streaming pretty much the majority of major cities, and with the ability for monetary payments being so natively, entwined with the internet, and with I don't know where I was going with that, but I think we've gotten to a point now where we're getting to a point where we could replace a lot of real life things with the internet. Mm-hmm. And even 10 years ago or 5 years ago, that wasn't necessarily a reality.
I feel like 5 to 10 years ago, it was definitely something that people were like kind of screaming about, like, this could happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that, that's why it's funny now the dudes in Metallica are looked upon as like, maybe they were actually doing the right thing at the time with Napster, like trying to go after Napster, because you don't make it. You could go as a band in the 90s up until 2000s. And even there were times in 2000s, there are obviously times in 2000s where bands were there, but like we said, back now in hindsight, we can go back and look and see, oh yeah, the whole fruit was rotted, even though they were, Creed and Nickelback and all of them were getting successful and going and growing and selling millions of copies. Like, the music industry was pretty much just fucking wiped out then, because all they were really trying to do were,
Creed and Nickelback, they sold a lot of CDs.
Yeah, they're like the John Cena of rock music.
It was rolling?
It's just really slow because I'm way zoomed out.
Oh.
It was this weird thing where you can see it dying, but also it's making a lot of money while it dies.
Right.
But I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that
that's like our fucking studios, like not the big ones now that make movies and TV shows. TV is dying. TV is huge,
like
still.
Cable television
Makes a ton of money, but it's done for.
Yeah,
you can see it coming.
Right,
and it's funny because if you talk to like people, my parents, who have the TV on all day long while they're home, and they can't imagine not having television, probably. they can't even understand why people aren't watching television. They're like, how do you live?
How do you get the news?
The
internet.
But really,
do you believe everything you read on the internet?
You
believe everything you watch on television?
Exactly.
This is not Walter Cronkite.
You should not believe
this
everything.
Is Rachel Maddow.
That's the thing. A lot of them do. They just never realized to question it.
Yeah. Well, it's because that they grew up their whole entire lives with it. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I guarantee there are people.
Well, now they've either picked a side. They're like CNN or Fox.
Oh, I just meant with television.
Yeah, just the idea
the idea of having a TV on all the time and having that where you're watching for like first run programming with commercials and all that shit.
Because somebody who's 80 years old now is somebody who was born and like we didn't have a TV until I was this age, and then the people that are in their 50s are like, yeah, we had 5 channels, and then now I have unlimited. So it's just
right.
This weird.
It's gonna be like us with phones.
Yeah.
Smartphone.
Well, it's even like, see, that's the thing. Yeah. What's crazy is that Burger and I are actually at the age, because that's why there's a weird there's a weird age gap between us where there's certain stuff where we kind of all like agree with, and then there's like a period where like we remember that period where like it was like before digital cable, like
right.
I remember just like regular cable. Before digital cable, and like you didn't have a channel guide, you didn't have any of that shit.
Yeah,
like I remember that, and like it was. I mean, it was what it was. I mean, nothing really. It was a slow increment of change because once you got digital cable, the channel numbers were the same. It was just now, oh, you can see what was on. Hey, this is kind of cool. Hey, look, there's a guide here. Then they added DVRs and everything, and then obviously the internet came. Everything started getting faster and faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, and I don't know if you had this when you were a kid, but I remember going to the TV Guide channel where it would post up and then it would stop. Yeah. It stopped for 5 seconds,
and then it would keep going.
Yep, and then
it was broken into like 3 quadrants. It had like a screen that was showing previews and stuff, and then the next to it was a little spot that would have whatever the preview was that it was showing, and like what number you could call to order the pay-per-view or whatever. And then below you had a scrolling like your guide kind of would have been for your cable box, but you just had the scrolling, what was on every channel. And so there was points like as a crazy wrestling fan as a kid where I would where there'd be nothing on TV and I would just go to the TV Guide channel to see if they had a wrestling commercial that would come on for whatever pay-per-view or whatever that they were advertising. Or like what even movies, they'd be like Terminator 2, HBO, like.
I remember being really bored and like waiting for wrestling to come on. So then I would just watch the thing coast by on the TV Guide. And then it would be like, because it was like, there's nothing left to do. There's still TV 25 minutes till the show starts. And then you see it shifts over.
Well, TV Guide was originally a magazine, a little booklet.
I remember Seinfeld and the weirdo found what's-her-name's TV Guide on the bus and decided he had to get it to her because he loves them and he collects them. But
I would now.
I never, no. I mean, for a few years when I was a kid, we didn't have TV at all. Because my parents were just cheap, and so...
You didn't have one at all? Not even in your living room?
Well, no, we had a television. We just didn't have TV service.
Oh, okay.
So you didn't have cable?
Right.
Did you have any kind of, like, antenna or anything? Like, for, like, the news?
Maybe. I don't know if they cared to set it up. I just
just had to watch Becker every night at 7.
Watched VHS movies.
Okay.
Over and over.
Yeah.
Obsessively. But, I mean, that's pretty much what kids do. That I've heard,
Yeah, when I was a kid, I had like 5 movies I'd watched over and over again.
Right.
The Wedding Singer, Super Mario Brothers.
Nice.
I think
Five Goes West.
I was probably a bit unique because I like legitimately was obsessed with wrestling. So like everything I tried to watch as a kid in my free time was wrestling.
Well, what age are you talking about? Because I got television by the time I was like 7.
I'm talking from the moment I was like 3 years old on.
Which is probably your first memories, right? Pretty much.
I think my earliest memory, I think I figured this out.
Yeah, it was the music video.
I had one. I think I had one before that. There was a Christmas. There's a Christmas I had that could have been 1989, which would have been going into my 2nd birthday.
I remember a Christmas because Christmases are pretty intense. There's a tree inside. There's lots of shiny boxes. There's music. There's smells. You don't usually smell like the wreath.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember being on my great grandmother's carpet, which was like an ugly olive puke green.
Yeah, because it was from the 60s.
And they were like, that was replaced in the 90s. And I'm like, well, I remember it.
I'm guessing the memory I have is from Christmas 1990, which would have been 2 going to 3, now that I think about it. But I do remember, that Madonna music video we talked about that one time. That had to have been right around that same time, too. Like, at early, like, 2 going into 3. But anyways, my point is that I used to have, my grandma would tape movies off of HBO and stuff. So there was always a really huge library of things to choose from if I wasn't watching TV. Mm-hmm. But like there was a lot of stuff that wasn't on tape or available at the time. So like I loved the show. I loved Saved by the Bell as a kid. So you would remember like what time that was. Oh yeah, 2:00. That's on TBS, and you go to the channel and you watch it. Or it's on channel 11 at 4:00, and you watch it over there. And then maybe you tape it or whatever. But there were certain shows like there was like for me I always had like an internal I had an internal memory like if we're going into like elementary school like first, second, third like I'd have a TV by the time I was like second grade maybe I had TV in my room and I was able because I always wanted to watch wrestling so I was always just able to and so instead of like watching out in the living room with everyone else, because no one else, like my sisters wouldn't want to watch it. And, my mom was just like, fuck it. I put them in, you can have a TV and a VCR. So then I knew like the schedule. Power Rangers would be on 3:00 after school, channel 13. You'd go home and you'd watch that, and then you kind of go from there. So then it'd be like, oh, because like, I'd watch Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon would have shit. But I was more of a fan of like, 'cause at that era, like it was like game shows. The game shows they'd have like Guts or Double Dare or shit like that. I really like watching that. Yeah, there was one called Nick Arcade, and so they would do like these video games. There's video games that weren't. I don't even think they were real, but they were like made up for the game. Anyways, yeah, that was one of those game shows. Double Dare was a fun one. What Would You Do was a good one.
Yeah.
Guts. I already said Guts. Wild and Crazy Kids. That's another one. Then there were actually like shows like Hey Dude.
You're watching this as a 6-year-old?
I was watching it as like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. Yeah.
Well, this is adult television, right?
No, it's Nickelodeon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah, no, but I was when I know for a fact that when I was around 4 years old, 5 years old, there'd be times where I'd definitely be watching MTV.
Because wrestling isn't really a kid's thing. It's kind of.
At the time,
like a superhero
at that era, it was definitely targeted towards kids. Like for sure, the toys, like figures, like it was all tailored towards kids, and it was a thing that like it was.
It's funny because you can't do that. I don't think you could do that these days.
No, you couldn't.
No.
Like these guys are beating each other up.
But what's funny? Actually, no. I take it back because WWE for a while there with John Cena, that's where they were making a lot of their money about 10 years ago. Were with kids, like just.
Rey Mysterio and John Cena, and they were all for the kids, yeah.
They made a lot of that had to do with Vince McMahon's wife running for Senate, and so they really like fucking pulled the brakes back on everything, like all the kind of like sexual, all the controversial stuff, the blood, all that stuff, and then made John Cena like this very superhero like man, and they resorted bright colors, and
they resorted back to the rock and roll era, but it didn't have the same impact charm exactly. But no, then they had this weird period when I was watching it as a kid, because I started watching it later, but then they were always trying to introduce these abortion and rape and like sleazy angles.
It was like soap opera. It was soap opera shit, like they thought it was cute, or they thought a good way of it was in the late 90s and early 2000s. It was like, oh, it's like soap operas for dudes. And it's like, they took that as like, oh, so then we need to do soap opera kind of shit. So this chick's going to get an abortion now. And there's going to be, it's not his kid, it's someone else's. And it's like, that's not why when it comes down to, that's not why people fucking watch the show. And that proved it because that shit was, everyone hated it. People ultimately like to watch like two entities battle each other, whether it's the Marvel movies or it's professional wrestling or it's sports. You're watching two entities fighting each other.
Right.
So when it's done well, and you would think that wrestling would be so easy to do because it's fake, so you can control what's happening. You can control the characters just like they do in Marvel movies. I mean, everyone watches.
We naturally create excellent characters for fights.
You could.
No, just like, not us. Like, I mean, humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're so good at it. We have wars all the time.
Yeah.
Political battles and cultural battles.
But they took it because they're so...
We don't even need them. We just choose to do it because it's the most fun thing we can imagine.
Right. That's why. Why do you think,
I think it's an evolutional thing. It's like evolution supposedly, well, I think it's real, but is when two things are competing and something succeeds, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's one mutation versus another or it's two species or...
I definitely think that evolution is real. What I was saying earlier was, there's a lot of stuff that happened in the big picture.
Right. I was just being open-minded.
Yeah.
I think pretty much everyone believes evolution is probably real, but
the evolution during the simulation,
evolution.
But with the wrestling thing, it's people will watch it and people get down to, they want to see someone get their ass kicked or get their comeuppance, right? So if you're watching a fucking mystery thriller, you want to see the bad guy get his comeuppance. You want to see the person get caught for whatever they did. You want to see John Cena beat the hell out of Randy Orton, or that's what they were hoping you would do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think along the lines, people like Vince McMahon and the ones that run that whole shtick, they lost touch with what that really was and started to actually believe that people came and wanted to see abortions and miscarriages and...
Yeah.
Well,
it didn't work.
Maybe they were watching Maury and they thought, well, this is a good...
It was Jerry Springer.
It was Jerry Springer.
Shit was big, right?
Yeah, back in 98.
That's literally what the main writer of WWF was inspired, like his inspiration was Jerry
And then
Springer.
Law and Order 2, which was like, we're going to take topical issues and work it into like murder cases.
You know what's funny though? Is
cases.
Law and Order didn't get big until like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Law and Order like late aughts, early 10s. That's when I started to really get into it, and it was older. Yeah. But I don't know that it was that popular necessarily.
No, I was gonna say I remember from the moment that shit started coming around, and it never really interested me. And I remember anytime I would be at like an older relative's house or something, like an aunt or a grandma or whatever, to stay the night, and if that came on, it was always just like try to fall asleep on the couch. It
was the original murder porn.
Yeah, was obsessed with the crime shows of the last decade, and that was in like NCIS and like some whatever the like CSI. Yeah, and it's just lame as shit.
But Law and Order has it is
lame as shit too.
But that's been able to last even like longer. It's still going.
Well, wasn't it like a knockoff of the big ones that were on HBO?
No. Law and Order came out. I want to say Law and Order came out in like the mid 90s.
Right, but starting in the 80s, they had cop shows on HBO that were big. I thought.
No, HBO didn't start doing TV shows until like the 90s, like with The Sopranos and
HBO used to just be this weird like
channel that would show movies.
Yeah, that only rich people got to watch.
And then they'd be boxing.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember HBO was always like that one. Like HBO was the one like pay-per-view thing that was
when my parents, when my mom and stepdad got married in 2000, we moved out to Tulalip, and we're just on. I mean, barely like it's Marysville. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like you were anywhere different, but we were only able to get Tulalip Cablevision.
Wow,
what is that?
Holy
and
shit.
so like it wasn't.
I didn't realize the res was that exclusive.
Yeah, they didn't. Wow. They didn't offer satellite at the time, and we didn't have. They didn't offer any kind of like broadband internet or nothing. So like from the time until I graduated high school in 2006, and I moved away. They still had dial up by the time that I moved out in 2006. So like the first time I ever saw like high speed internet was like it had access to it was in the dorm at my freshman year of college.
Mm-hmm.
So at my parents' house, it was Cablevision. And for whatever crazy reason, Channel 3 was HBO.
Wow.
So everyone got HBO.
Fuck.
Every room in the house had HBO. But like we weren't able to order pay-per-view because it wasn't digital. So we weren't able to order pay-per-view. And there was like there's like 90 channel, like, or it went up to the 90s, but like in the later channels it would go away, but it'd go, like Comedy Central. We had all like the channels like Comedy Central and all that shit. We were just holding up Cablevision. Then eventually they were able to get high-speed internet out there, and now they have satellite, and they've had satellite forever.
Yeah, now it's like the rest of the planet.
Yeah. But it was just interesting when we moved out there that like my dad lived in downtown Marysville, and before he had digital cable, just had regular cable, never had HBO. Like, you'd have to pay for it, and maybe you had a subscription to it, so it'd be on there. But like, and maybe my stepdad paid for HBO. Maybe that was the case. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But it just seemed like it was on every channel, or every house, or every TV in the house had the channel.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Always call your family at the Eagles, where a banquet room can be rented anytime, with a heavy pour and some love in a home-cooked meal. We'll put your plaque on the patio when you die. Always call your family at the Eagles. We'll always call